Welcome, enemies of the spice, to Geek Salad's retro movie review from the Geek Salad podcast. I'm Andy.
And I'm Mike.
And we are here for at least 2 weeks out of the cold month of January to discuss two high-profile box office bombs, one each, that we actually like.
Yes.
So Mike and I both picked one. And as you can't tell by the show description, we picked mine for tonight. So Mike and I will be discussing the 1984 David Lynch classic, Dune.
David Lynch or Alan Smithy or what is it? Judas Booth.
Whatever. I mean, all right. Right out of the gate, we're talking about the theatrical release, the David Lynch credited release.
Okay.
I've seen and I have on DVD the director's cut, the Alan Smithy director's cut. It adds nothing because the stuff that they added is kind of incompetent, and the overall narrative just doesn't work, especially with the change of having Princess Erlon do the narration to like just some old dude and a whole bunch of oil paintings.
Well, I mean, as it is, the Princess Erlon aspect, I had some issues with, actually.
Well, I did too. And then we'll get into that in just a second.
Yeah.
But I agree with David Lynch that what was on the cutting room floor should have remained there. It's there for deleted scenes, which obviously in 1984 you didn't have the foresight to think that there would be, this amazing media that you could watch all the extra shit on.
Oh yeah. Back then, VHS was brand new.
VHS was it was brand new, commercial VHS, and you didn't get you could fit this movie. This movie's like 2 hours and 12 minutes long. You could fit the whole thing on one SP video. Exactly.
The kids have no idea what we're talking about right now.
Exactly.
Back SP, LP, and EP.
Called video cassettes. And I'm sorry, the camera just shook. My cat has decided that she needs to hijack this thing and give her 2 cents.
Cute Chaussette.
Yeah. Oh, yes. Chaussette, you ass. With that said, I unapologetically love this train wreck of a movie. I'll be the first one to point out every single flaw about this movie.
And there are numerous.
Oh,
ones.
Good Lord. Well, let's start with Princess Erlon, played by Virginia Madsen.
Yeah.
Who would 20 years later get an Oscar nomination for Sideways.
And no, she wasn't in Field of Dreams, was she?
No, that was Amy Madigan.
That's it. Yeah, sorry.
Right. No, Virginia Madsen had this really interesting career.
Yeah, I've seen stuff she's in. It's nothing that really just kind of sticks in my mind.
Yeah, and most of it's not good. So it's like you couldn't if you needed a prettier Sean Young, who is incidentally in Dune, you went with Virginia Madsen.
Yeah.
Her narration is odd for a number of reasons. One, the accent, she's not good at doing a British accent, which was unnecessary, considering that Jose Ferrer, who plays her father, doesn't have that accent.
Yeah, her British accent comes from the Carrie Fisher school of
A New Hope accents. Yes. Yeah. There's this weird thing too where she fades in and she's talking about, and then she dips out and then fades back in again. Yeah. And that's kind of this. Honestly, had it been made 20 years before with the same filming and technology that were used in 1984, would have made an amazing head film. A film you dropped LSD and then watched it, Mike.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, the thing that most confused me about Princess Erlon's role in the film is the fact that she's just kind of there to act as a narrator almost, but that at the end, they do that. I get they're taking the lines right from the book, but they say she's so haughty, and it's like, when in the movie have we seen her being all haughty and holier than now? She's actually been pretty down to earth and pretty cool.
she's shown up in 3 scenes and done some narration throughout.
Yeah.
Some. Usually, I felt that the only time the narration really worked was when they had to denote the passage of time and also just to quickly explain what happened with Alia.
Yeah.
Because if without the narration, the whole Alia storyline of being born with the full knowledge of a Bene Gesserit priestess would just seem weird.
Weirder. It was
Yes.
not. It was still pretty darn weird. And
right.
that girl was just, she was creepy.
Oh, Alicia Royan Witt.
Did she do anything else beyond this one? Because she was just creepy.
She actually appeared in. I mean, I'm just going back to like 90s stuff. Sybil Shepherd had a show on CBS. It was a big hit. I like it. It kind of is the show that broke Christine Baranski.
Okay.
As kind of like her drunky best friend. And Alicia Witt was her daughter. Alicia Witt also appeared in. Did you ever see 4 Rooms?
I've never even heard of 4 Rooms.
Okay, 4 Rooms was back during the Tarantino heyday of independent film. It was released in 1994 or 5. It was I believe it was 1995, and it was essentially 4 independent filmmakers put together these little vignette stories that all tied together into one movie. And she was in the coven scene with the likes of Madonna and Parker Posey and a few other people.
Okay.
Yeah.
She was still really creepy in this role.
Well, she was. She was also a child in this movie.
Yeah.
So they try to do some world building in this movie. That's just it. I think that the beginning flows okay. I don't feel lost. Pretty much being able to tell Caladan are the good guys. The Atreides are the good guys.
Yeah.
Then you go to Giedi Prime. The Harkonnens are the bad guys. And you can tell that because, first of all, they're all corpulent fat except for Sting, who is at his dreamiest.
Yeah, Fade Ratha just kind of stands out like a sore thumb on that entire planet.
Well, he's also, I mean, the other thing, too, is that part of why I saw the movie in the first place was because at that time I was a huge Police fan.
Yeah.
And it was like, Sting's in this movie. How bad could it be? Yeah, he sticks out really, especially because of the actors that they chose to play Baron Harkonnen, who was Kenneth McMillan, and then Paul Smith. Do you ever see Robert Altman's Popeye with Robin Williams?
No, but I know he plays Bluto in it.
He played Bluto in that, and he played Raban, the Beast Raban, who was supposed to be Fade's brother.
Yeah, and the whole like kind of quasi incestuous like Baron just kind of like gazing at it, like yeah.
Exactly, and that they play that up. It is in the books. It is in the books. That Baron Harkonnen is very homosexual. But it's just but it comes across as just like Candy Van creepy.
Yeah.
In some of the scenes. Giedi Prime as a set piece is actually kind of cool looking. I'm not gonna say it's beautiful because it's not supposed to be beautiful.
But, well, no, I mean, like the set design on this movie is second to none. It looks gorgeous.
Exactly, and I feel that this was the closest that they were going to get to what H.R. Giger was going to design when he kind of had the art reins for that back when Jodorowsky was going to do it like in the early 70s.
Yeah.
And I think that looked great. I think that the costumes across the board in this movie are fantastic. I like the look of the Harkonnen suits. I like that it's very uniform and very industrial.
Yeah, I don't know, the still suits. I was hoping for more, and they just kind of look like kind of puffy latex suits.
Well, we'll get to that in a second. We haven't really established our characters here. So You got the Harkonnens, you have House Carino, which is
The Emperor.
the Emperor of the known galaxy, and then you've got the Atreides, Duke Leto and Paul, who is the main character played by Kyle MacLachlan.
Start of a long relationship between Kyle MacLachlan and David Lynch.
Yes. Oh, yeah. They did a lot together. And they actually produced some great works after this. But yeah, I think that Kyle MacLachlan's very good in this movie, considering he's got to say these lines with a straight face.
And especially considering that he looks about in his mid-20s when Paul Atreides is supposed to be in his early teens.
15. And that's a traditional thing with movie adaptations. You have to age up a little bit.
Yeah, I know. It's
for the conquering coming hero.
Yeah.
It's not as believable if there's a teenager, a legit teenager doing that.
I don't know. I kind of would have it probably would have helped with this passage of time a little bit more if you'd had a younger actor playing Paul at the beginning and then maybe Kyle at the end.
Right, but I don't think they were thinking of that. It was just like, this movie's already costing us more money than any movie at the time.
And that would come back to bite them.
Exactly. But getting back to the set pieces, I think Caladan was not explored nearly as much as I think I would like. A lot of exterior shots of just waves crashing against a castle
in the dark.
Right. I thought though that that Paul's training room looked cool. I like the training machine that they used. And there, you meet your other characters. Gurney Halleck, played by the always bald Patrick Stewart.
And
dude ever had hair.
Hey, he rocks that chrome dome.
Right. You had Thufir Hawat, and you have Dean Stockwell playing Dr. Yui, who you'll find out later is the traitor. Spoiler. Sorry, the movie's 34 years old. Going on 35 this year. It's actually his 35th anniversary at the end of the year. And then you get to, you're introduced to certain concepts in the movie that are part of the book. The whole spice allows to fold space, which is your hyperspace. It allows you to move from one place to another without any movement at all.
Right.
I thought that scene was actually handled pretty well, considering it's a far out concept.
I was not a fan of the navigator's design.
Yeah.
Or their vagina mouths. It was. Come on, you have to admit it.
Oh no, it absolutely was just really ooh, no.
Mm-hmm.
But it was an interesting thing that's how the spice mutates the navigators. And again, it's just one of those things. I think just visually for me, I'm willing to accept the visual representation of this movie as the overall overarching every book written before and after is going to look like. Much more so, I think, than the Sci-Fi Channel movies that came quite a few years later.
I didn't mind those. I thought they were actually quite enjoyable. I have to admit, I have them right over there. I kind of enjoy them a little bit more than this movie.
Here's the thing. Also, they go into more depth. It's a multi-part thing.
Yeah,
you can get more into the characters, which is a gigantic flaw in this movie. The characters are very. If you can't hear their narration, you don't really know what they're about.
Yeah, I'm gonna say I don't hate this movie either.
Right.
But I don't love it nearly as much as you do.
Right. And again, for me, it's just this bizarre thing I have for this movie. It came out at a good time for me. Aesthetically, it really just it touched that sore tooth in the back of your mouth.
Yeah.
So it's ooh, that feels good. Yeah, it's that kind of movie. And when you actually get to Arrakis, Dune, desert planet, you're introduced to the Fremen. You see the still suits, and I'll be honest with you, when you look at what the artist representation of the still suits are in the books, I'd much rather take the wetsuit design. It it translates better to the movies, I think. I like the idea of the ribbed pouches.
In this movie, I can see it. I think there was more you could have done with it. I wish there was another design that they'd gone with.
Right.
For some reason, the design just does not click with me. And considering that most of the characters spend the rest of the majority of the movie in those suits, that's kind of an issue.
Right. After the first hour, that's all they wear, the still suits.
Yeah.
But I think again, this is kind of something that's a throwback to Giger's original designs too. Very, very ribbed, very ribbed for her pleasure, because let's be honest, that's what Giger was all about.
Yes,
how many dicks we throw into this thing?
How many dicks on the spines of the alien, right?
Right, exactly. It's and I just enjoy that. Now, I think there's some decent performance. No performance in this movie is truly great.
No.
But there are some decent performances. Going back to Patrick Stewart, I really love what Patrick Stewart did with Gurney Halleck, considering, it's the thankless role.
To be fair, it's Patrick Stewart. When you're not getting a fantastic performance out of him.
Right. I thought he was pretty good. I actually liked Everett McGill as oh god, why can't I think of his name now?
Hold on. I've actually got it up right here. Who was it?
Right.
Everett McGill. Stilgar.
Stilgar, yes, the head Fremen. Yeah, it's just there's some fun.
I actually thought that Francesca Annis as Lady Jessica, I really liked her, actually.
Right. I mean, there was some extreme overacting going on, but that's to be expected.
It is a David Lynch movie.
Right, exactly. I love also that with Duke Leto, Jürgen Prochnow really had a difficult time just getting the words out that you'd understand them.
Yeah.
That thick German accent of his.
Well, no.
Hey, if you want to see a good movie with Jürgen Prochnow, watch Das Boot in its original German.
Das Boot.
Das Boot. It's he's really good at it. Visually though, I think the special effects are okay, considering, the worms. I really like the worms. I really
the worms, for me, some scenes, yes. Other scenes, not as much.
Right. There's a shot in the distance of all the worms kind of up at once. I think it's after Paul takes the water of life. And I thought that was kind of a really cool scene. Matte lines and all.
Yeah.
It was a pretty good looking scene. And there was a lot of urgency with it. I really love the Toto score.
Yeah, I mean the score, I got no issue with it.
Right,
it's Toto. I like Toto in general.
Right, exactly. It's interesting because this wasn't their sound. I don't know how they got roped into doing this, but
hey, Queen did that Flash Gordon movie. Maybe we can do this Dune movie. It's gonna be a hit, right?
Queen and Toto are exactly the same bands, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and there's certain things, the liberties that they took, and I want to just point out, I'm a huge fan of the books. I've read all the books in the Frank Herbert series. I've read several of the Brian Herbert books as well. So I truly love this entire world and this universe that they've built.
Yeah, I've read the original Dune, and I really enjoyed it, but I didn't really go beyond it because even the original Dune, it was starting to get a little bit too heady and kind of LSD mental escape for me.
60s sci-fi is a really interesting thing. If to our viewers out there, if you've never read Dune, give it a chance, but you got to remember this isn't the same type of sci-fi that we have today, or even, it wasn't even popular when I was a kid. This is something that really hit on the generation of teenagers and young adults from the mid 1960s.
I would say at least in my opinion, because I really haven't really gotten into any of the books besides the original. I would say the original Dune is probably the easiest one of the series to kind of grasp.
Absolutely. The first 3 books in the series, actually, so Dune, Dune Messiah, Children of Dune, are actually reasonably easy reads. I actually feel that Children of Dune is the easiest read out of all 3 of those, because it's a more straightforward story about the Paul's children, and them kind of battling Alia. God Emperor Dune. Good Lord.
Yeah, I never even tried with that one. All I remember is seeing the cover and having like a giant sandworm with a human face. I'm like,
right.
No, thank you.
God Emperor Dune is like your phase 2. It's a complete. It's only got the one character, Leto II, and a whole host of new characters, and it moves the overall story away from Paul being the Messiah to Leto being the God Emperor, and there's just this. It just from there, it's a completely different style of storytelling. Between that, Chapter House Dune, and then oh my God, why can't I remember it? Yeah, God help me, I can't even remember what the hell it was.
What? Hold on.
Yep.
Original series: Dune Messiah, Children of Dune,
God Emperor, and then
Heretics of Dune.
Heretics of Dune. That's one I couldn't remember. So it was Heretics of Dune, and then finals up with
Chapter
House Dune, and that was I got through pretty much all of those my first semester freshman year of high school, which goes to show you how much free time I had on my hands. But I was a much more voracious reader back then. I really feel that the only way that these stories could be told now is in high-end cable TV series with the investment that you're going to get through at least the first 6 books.
Yeah, don't mind me. I'm just actually looking up on my phone whether there's an audiobook for Dune. Oh, there is.
I'm sure that there is. I'm sure there's tons of audiobooks for Dune.
Yeah, lots of them. And this one's read by who is this? Narrated. Oh, wow. It's actually read by like 5 different people.
Oh, so in other words, they're doing character, which would make sense. I think this isn't the kind of book with your one standard character because it's not a fluid story.
No, it isn't.
Right. And even the movie, I mean, with the movie, giving certain characters kind of like that second voice, the ability to, narrate their thoughts. It only happens with a few characters. It happens with Thufir. It happens with Fade. It happens with Barrett, Paul.
Lady
Jessica. And that's about it.
I gotta be honest. Those moments, I understand why they're there because they are in the book, but they kind of take me out. It's just like, oh, now we're hearing these thoughts. Okay, right. I'm sure there are more compelling film techniques that you could use to demonstrate this happening instead of just.
At the same time, though, it's one of those things. It's like the "why would I have said that out loud" type of thing. If you're gonna throw exposition out there, I'd rather have them think it than be like, "Oh, spice enhances the senses."
Spice. Mentos.
It's a hunter seeker. I have to remain quiet, not move one muscle.
I mean, honestly, I mean, you could have just done silently, just like, and just like show that he's not moving and it's not detecting him, and then as soon as there's something moving, it goes right to it, and you could have done that without the mental voice. I think.
Right. I agree. That scene especially, I think that could have been done. It would have been more suspenseful that way, but then you'd have to explain the whole, you had to explain a hunter seeker, and that's just the pain in the ass. It's a robot dart.
Exactly.
Yeah. I mean, again, it's tough for me to defend the movie because I will point out the flaws as if I don't like the movie. but I enjoy watching this movie. I get a thrill watching this movie. Now, for yourself, who is not as enamored with it as I am, your thoughts?
Well, before we get to that, though, I do want to get your thought on the ending, where Paul is able to make it rain, literally.
First of all, I believe that was done as a way to tell you there's not going to be another one of these movies. It caps off a story that should be a multi-plane, multi-chapter story, and just says, that's it. I'm not doing another one of these. There's your happy ending. He brought rain to the desert planet. Good night, folks. Tip your waitress.
They were going to make a sequel, but after the box office returns, they're like, nah, we're not doing a sequel.
Yeah, no, this movie was an infamous bomb. Time I can actually pull up the actual numbers, but this is one of those movies that had amazingly did not have a fast food tie-in. It's not as prevalent. We didn't have as much fast food back then as we do now, where Cold Stone is doing Aquaman. But
the budget of this movie was $40 million, and I think it pulled in domestic box office at the time like 26, 27.
Right. Which is half. And again, you go by the rule of 3 times.
Well, I think they were probably less back then because I don't know if marketing was as vital back then.
Yeah, I remember they marketed the shit out of this movie, though.
There were action figures, too, weren't there?
There were action, but there were only like 4 action figures. There was Paul. There was, I believe, the Baron. There was Fade. No. It was Paul. It was Stilgar. It was Fade, and I believe one of the Sardaukar guards. Which, by the way, I love that design too. I like that better. Is like that. It's a stormtrooper. It's your faceless villain.
Yeah.
I don't quite get why if you punch the windshield, the gas leaks out and they're dead. I don't think that's a thing.
Yeah. I was also I did not like the weird way becoming sonic weapons. That it took what should have been an elegant concept and made it boom.
It was your how do we replace lightsabers?
Yeah.
Okay, so here are the figures. I actually have them out here from Google, and I have them on my phone here. So we've got Stilgar, the Fremen, Paul Atreides, Baron Harkonnen, Fade with his cat. Remember that one scene in the movie? The Sardaukar guard, the Sardaukar warrior, and then Raban.
Of course.
Yeah. And it's funny too. I remember when after the movie had come out, as I mentioned, I'm a huge Police fan, and the Police were on an extended break, and they went back to the studio to try to put together a new album in 1986, and instead came out with one song, and it was a remake, like a slower remake of "Don't Stand So Close to Me." And they had this video. They made a video of it. And one of the things they did with the video was they had 3 lines, indicating all the stuff that the 3 members of the Police were into and had been, up to in that time. And one of the things in Sting's line of things, someone did an animation, a stop motion animation of the Fade action figure.
Nice.
So clever.
Yeah.
Clever. It's not one of those things that if I ever met Sting, I'd be like, hey, tell me about your time shooting Dune.
You kind of would. Come on.
I probably would. Like, dude, I loved you with Dune. Oh, and a whole bunch of other stuff too that's more important. But yeah, Dune.
You'd be like, wow, somebody actually likes that film. Hey.
Yeah, what's wrong with you? But it's one of those things. I think that for myself and for guys of my age, it's one of those things. It was a found classic or a lost classic for a lot of us. I remember being very excited when I worked at Suncoast, and it came out on widescreen VHS, and oh, it was just nipples just out to here. I was so excited. Because I finally get to see it again the way it was intended to be seen.
Yeah, that's right.
And this is a movie you can't watch in a pan and scan.
Oh,
version.
no.
And that's the thing. I mean, for all the faults that it has, it is a beautiful looking movie.
Yeah, trying to watch this movie in pan and scan would be like trying to watch the Lord of the Rings trilogy.
Or in pan and scan. Where is everybody?
Why is the world so small?
God, I'm so claustrophobic right now. So overall, I really enjoyed Dune. If it's been a while since you've watched it, by all means.
Yeah, it's a movie where if you've never seen it, I would suggest at least checking it out once. I mean, just for shits and giggle. I mean, this
is your nerd. This is a nerd's checklist movie.
Yeah, you can watch it and find it like completely weird and bizarre. That's David Lynch for you, and you can hate it, but you should at least check it out because it is just kind of like slightly off.
Yeah,
but it's slightly off in a kind of slightly enjoyable way.
Exactly, that's a great way of putting it. And the interesting thing is too that this did lead to bigger and better. Because I feel that the period after this, the Blue Velvet to Twin Peaks period, is peak David Lynch, and that's Blue Velvet, both seasons of Twin Peaks, and Wild at Heart. Yeah. That right there is how I envision all David Lynch movies. So
I'm not the biggest David Lynch fan. He's not my cup of tea.
That's fine. He is totally for the time that I was a young, starry-eyed film guy.
I have my cup of tea.
I know you have your cup of tea in your Tim Hortons mug.
Yes, I do.
Very nice, very nice. So yes, so that was Dune. If there's any thoughts you have about Dune, you loved it, you didn't love it, we're right, you're wrong, or the opposite way around, feel free to comment below. Now, don't forget, give this video a thumbs up and hit the subscribe button so you get content every week. We're a little late this week just due to work and New Year's and everything. Now, next
2019, by the way.
Yes, happy 2019. So next week, Mike, you want to tell them what the bomb you love is?
I hate to call it a bomb because I love this movie a lot, but it came out last year. No, last year or the year before?
2017. So technically 2 years ago.
2 years ago. Saban's Power Rangers.
Okay.
I love that movie so much, and it made its performance, its shooting budget back, but just barely, and it did not cover the manufacturing.
It didn't cover the marketing. Essentially, it made its production budget back and nothing else.
Yeah, which
what's going to be interesting too is that I'm not exactly going in cold. As of this recording, I haven't seen it yet. I plan on watching it on Sunday night.
Yeah, I'll probably watch it again on Sunday as well, just to refresh myself. But
right.
I've really enjoyed it.
So yeah, this month we actually got a very interesting thing. We're doing 2 classic bombs before we hit Oscar season, and Mike and I have selected a few Oscar movies, which we'll reveal, when we record. Yeah. With some interesting, we'll see some very interesting things in discussion with that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So again, don't forget, subscribe to Geek Salad here at YouTube. Please comment. We love hearing the comments. Also, Mike and I host a little podcast called Geek Salad.
We do?
We do, yeah. Remember that?
Oh, yeah.
You can get our show at geeksalad.podbean.com or check it out on the Podbean app, the Stitcher app, the iTunes, or Google Music, or Spotify. You can also check out the audio stream right here at YouTube. You can follow us at Geek Salad Radio on Twitter, Geek Salad Podcast on Facebook, and you can email us at geeksaladradio@gmail.com. So, Mike, till next time, I'm Andy.
And I'm Mike.
Go forth and be nerdful, and don't forget, the spice must flow.
Wow.
Go for